Travel outfit Sonder is coming off a record quarter of sales as it starts to see a rebound in bookings and travel after people have been cooped up because of the pandemic. Now, despite the encouraging results, though, Sonder stock is down about 45% since its public markets debut in late January. Joining me now here at the NASDAQ is Sonder CEO Francis Davidson. Francis, good to see you in person here for a change. We actually exist in the flesh. Go figure.
Yes.
You're not too far removed from your IPO in late January. What has been top of mind for you and the team here a few months into public company life?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, the ambition is to revolutionize hospitality. We offer a selection of beautiful apartments, hotels in 35 plus cities across 10 countries. And what's really distinctive here is that they're beautifully designed. They come with technology in the back end that allows us to be a lot more efficient. And so, what's important is to deliver a better and better customer experience, to put more pins on the map, to add more supply growth, and ensure that we're positioned to answer this historic amount of travel demand comeback in the coming months.
I definitely want to touch upon that, the historic rebound in traffic demand. But last time we talked to you, we were focused on units, getting more units on the platform. How many units do you have, and what's the outlook for this year?
So we ended the year at 18,000 contracted units. And what's really great there is that these units have been generating a lot more revenue. So RevPAR is the metric that we track, $142 of revenue per night that we posted in Q4. And that was up from even 2019 levels. And so there's been a really great recovery of travel demand and occupancy rates. And it's led us to grow post-growth that was 204% year over year in Q4. So really proud of that. And really the tip of the spear of that growth is adding more supply on the map. So we intend on adding a lot more of really high quality properties over the coming years.
You mentioned a historic rebound in travel demand. Where are you seeing things come back the most? Because we are getting a little bit of a loosening here in the pandemic in the U.S. When China, look, this has been a bad week for lockdowns.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, it's the recovery trend over the last couple of years has had some bumps along the road, but the clear trend line has been one of excitement for traveling. I think people, like you mentioned, have been cooped up and they can't wait to get back on the road. And we're seeing that show up in the numbers, right? Every quarter in the last year, we've seen improvements in our RevPAR, in our free cash flow margins. And so there's been, that enthusiasm for travel is really kind of transpired in the financials of the business.
This week, we got a host of really, I would say, encouraging news from the major airlines. Delta in particular, noting that they haven't seen a hit because of everything going on between Russia and Ukraine. Have you seen any change in your numbers? Has business taken a hit because of what's going on over there?
No, Sonder is really mostly in North America. We're in Western Europe. We have a good presence in Dubai. And so we've been insulated from some of the geopolitical environment or the circumstance. We've got some team members that have got family, loved ones there. So we've been as supportive as we can to those people. But on the business front, we've been quite isolated from this.
Who's using the platform?
So, I mean, this is Sonder's for everyone. It is primarily targeted from an experience perspective at the millennials and Gen Z. They're the ones that really are comfortable with the mobile technology that we use to request services or ask for recommendations. They love our modern design approach. And so they thrive with the Sonder experience. But that being said, who doesn't want a really beautiful place at an affordable price point that's frictionless, really high consistency quality, whether it's a hotel room or an apartment? This is something that works across the board. Many price points and demographics thrive with the product that we offer.
That $142 ADR that you mentioned, or the average.
The RevPAR, yeah, the ADR is even higher. Yeah.
That is high. How much more will it cost to take a summer vacation? A lot of inflation in the U.S. What's the reality of it?
So there's some forecasts out there from, say, Smith Travel Research or others that say that in 2022, we're still going to be a little bit shy of 2019 levels. That being said, in terms of price points, right, that 2019 was still a little bit more expensive. So the prices have been rising, and you can see that show up in kind of the inflation calculation breakdowns, but they're still much below what they're at pre-pandemic. So traveling is still affordable. Like, who knows actually what's going to happen in the next couple of years? I don't think we're smart enough to make these kinds of long-range predictions. But still, to this day, inflation hasn't really kind of trickled down into the cost of travel.
Is $5 plus gas going to kill the staycation?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
What about, we mentioned coming in here in January, the stock price. I know very focused on the long term, but I mean, the stock has been under pressure here. What are shareholders telling you about it?
Yeah, well, listen, I think there's been a lot of headwinds in the markets generally, and we haven't been insulated from that. Frankly, we view it as a challenge. It's like, oh yeah, well, we'll show the kind of numbers that we can post on the board. We're very optimistic about what we can deliver. Like, what we know is that we've got some great unit economics. We've got discipline when it comes to our growth. We've generated huge amounts of growth, but we're doing so in a very thoughtful fashion, being really methodical on the cash flow margin progressions of the business, trying to see a lot of overhead leverage, trying to see, our property level profit margins improve quarter after quarter. So I think it's going to be a story of like growth coming together with improvements in margins. That's really what we're focusing on in the business. And to make that happen, what we need is a more attractive guest experience. What we need is better and better technology, focusing more kind of these core attributes that make Sonder successful.
Is it more a reflection of the macro environment, just given how the stock has reacted since you went public?
Listen, we've seen some indices of companies that have gone public that are high growth stock. You can kind of chop the market in many which ways, and you'll see that the movement in our share price hasn't been abnormal. There's been a lot of turbulence in the markets for high growth companies. Heightened interest rate environment, fears of inflation, those kinds of things end up trickling down. And at the end of the day, I listened to one of our great board members' advice, Fritz van Paschen, who was the CEO of Starwood, and he told me, listen, the stock price moves for two reasons: either the market or the performance of the business. You don't control the market, so focus on the performance.
Lastly, on performance, do you see profitability this year?
So we haven't guided profitability for the year. We're really focusing on improvements in the discipline of the business when it comes to unit economics, free cash flow margins, and ensuring that we keep growing fast but in a really methodical, thoughtful way.
All right, we'll leave it there. Sonder CEO Francis Davidson, good to meet you in person here. Enjoy your time in New York City here at the NASDAQ. It's good to be out, and it's good to see people in the flesh again.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.